Hi everybody, Chris here from Truly Holistic. Now I just want to do a quick video about an upgrade that I believe needs to happen generally over the awareness and spiritual community or consciousness community. And that is an upgrade from the word awareness to being truly self-aware. Okay. One thing we've been talking a lot with clients lately is about knowing what is constant in your experience of reality. Knowing the difference between and keeping your eye on the ball, so to speak, on what is constant instead of being drawn and pulled and controlled and manipulated by variables outside of you. And in sessions, we talk a lot about that as the human, there's two pathways or paths of discernment. One is mind, thought, mentality, and the other one is heart, feel, knowing, right? Because we feel things, right? Like, for example, what is known as gut instinct, which is something that is instant, right? Gut instinct is there, right? It doesn't require a thought process to get to that conclusion. It doesn't require time. It is ever, what I like to call ever present, right? And feel is what the heart brings. Mind is thought. So I always say that our original discernment mode is what is ever present, which is another way of saying what is constant. And we experience our body through how it feels. Okay. Like I had a client a few weeks back going to me, Chris, when we met up for the session, I had to go and see the doctor. And then they started talking about all the numbers, right? Crunching all the numbers of tests, blood work, scans, and so on. And I said, hey, hang on, just wait a minute. Why did you go to the doctor? And I wanted to utilize this to bring their realization and awareness to it. I said, why did you go to the doctor? And they go, because I didn't feel good or feel right. So I was like, okay, so your first discernment that was facilitated and provided to you was based on what was felt, not thought. Okay. And then you went to a doctor for them to use a mind, thought, mentality process to try and understand what you felt. And, I know a lot of clients that have gone and seen the doctor, gone to the medical profession, and they have had it with it because, for one, they don't listen to what the patient has to say. They can't connect into the same experience that the patient had. And often, their treatment or reactional treatment method to what the client is experiencing is based on their numbers, right? The testing, not that original discernment of what they felt. And they can't experience that because you're experiencing it. So it's this understanding that we experience it because ultimately we are the ones that need to resolve it, not another practitioner, right? So what is ever present, what is ever constant is what is felt, okay? Because it's bound and connected to what you are, which is facilitated through heart, feel, knowing, not mind, thought, mentality. Okay. Mind, thought, mentality tends to draw and distract your attention to things outside of you, which are the variables, not what's constant in your reality. What's constant in your reality? Number one on the list, you. Okay. You cannot be part of the moment or experience of your reality, right? What is also another constant, your momentary process, which are choices you make in each and every moment, which is one, where you place your attention, and two, how you use your attention. This will always be the most important aspect of your wellness or vitality and the remedying of getting back to wellness and vitality, remedying a health problem. So very important, very pivotal. So I like, instead of, this awareness, because simply what is awareness? Awareness is to bring your attention or focus to something. So, a lot of people that start off their spiritual journey or consciousness journey is they'll see, people that are not awake compared to who they see now as being awoken, or awakened while the people that are not awoken. But really it's just a shift of where you place your attention to another place. So even in that sense, with awareness, you're still, for the most part, not narrating you're not narrating it. Something is still drawing and distracting where you should apply your attention and focus. So what's actually happened is it's still part of mind projection, and we don't want it. True spirituality is connecting to spirit, and spirit is you as a soul, what you authentically, infinitely are, and what facilitates the soul is not the mind, but the heart. Okay, so I'm seeing a lot in the spiritual groups, a lot of mentality still being applied, thought process, or mind, and that's nothing to do with spirit. Nothing at all, right? The same people go, hey, well, mind, body, spirit. Well, if it was spirit, that clearly shows there's a difference between mind and spirit, right? Otherwise, there'd be just mind and body, and spirit's part of mind, right? So we've got to be very aware and understand that. Why I want us to be self-aware is because now, when we have our awareness, our focus right here, right now, right, the ever present, we now present our natural state, which is called a state of being. Why we are human beings, a human providing a state of being that allows us to open our heart and facilitate what we are in our authenticity and our infinite nature, which is as a soul consciousness, right? And in that space, we are self-aware of the constant. What is the constant in our life and our reality? And more importantly, we become very aware of our gifts in the present moment, that our choices are formless frequencies or energy, our makeup as a soul consciousness that's being forged into physical reality. It's being presented and now into form, which becomes a physical reality, our matter, our experience. So really we're here to create our experience, to then live that experience, and ultimately then learn the lesson from that experience. Of course, where the word or term karma comes from. Karma means lesson. And there's no such thing as bad karma. That's a duality approach seen from mind, thought, mentality, because all experience holds a lesson or something to learn from. So when we see it from the heart, when we see it from the soul, we just simply see it as an experience, something to learn from. We don't compartmentalize it into good or bad, because that's what mentality does. The heart does not use mentality. Okay, so what I'm going to summarize here, there is conventional programming happening also in the spiritual community too, not just the non-awoken or non-spiritual community. And why that is, because it's all a blueprint of keeping you confined and locked in the game of duality. Because you've got to understand the game of duality, this matrix world, requires two to play the game, because duality is made up of two polarities, two opposing factions, and in this case it's the conventional aspect of spiritual community and then the conditional programming of the non-spiritual group warring at each other. That ends up creating a reality, because there has to be two players to create this very existence of the game of duality, which is based on chaos and conflict. We need to rise above it, and how we rise above it is through upgrading this aspect of awareness to being self-aware and becoming aware of your abilities, becoming aware of how you apply yourself, and realizing that where I place my attention, I am ultimately investing my energy into more of that thing. I'm attaching my energy to it, and as long as my energy is attached to it, it will remain as part of my experience. So a lot of people that are in the spiritual communities they don't realize that their attention is now being drawn to all this dark aspect of they weren't aware of before, but how they're applying themselves to it, their energy is ultimately feeding the very thing they don't want as part of their experience, and they're feeding what they despise, and a lot of times those people become what they despise, and we don't want that for them. So if you want an upgrade, you want to know how to rise above it, what we call rise above the game of duality, understand what the game of duality is about, understand how you apply yourself, your superpowers of attention and intention to rise above it into neutrality, book a reality coaching session with me at Truly Holistic. So go to trulyholistic.net/appointments/. Catch you later.